Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 50 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit. What's up? So this week's something that I love is numbers divisible by 5. Figured that's appropriate for this here episode number 50. 50 episodes isn't a bad milestone, but I still got a ways to go before I hit the big 15,000. Anyway, for more about this podcast, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is People We Love Podcast. And you can find me on Instagram as well, Adam Choit. That's my name. And remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, 5-star positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is writer, sometimes performer, sound man, and co-producer of the Scoopty Boopty's Comedy Club, Oscar Lemus. Oscar grew up in South Florida loving cartoons, movies, books, and video games. Eventually, he discovered sarcasm and humor, and it was at Florida State University where Oscar made lots of friends in the sketch comedy group 30 and 60. Of course, one thing led to another, and to Los Angeles, and to this studio. But none of this would be possible without the support of one person who's pretty special to Oscar, his father, Ruben Lemus. So let's do it. Without further ado, here's Oscar Lemus. So it's good to see you today, Oscar Lemus.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming by the studio. How's your day going?
Pretty well, actually. It's been a great day. You know, I drove through 2 hours of traffic, north and south in LA. So
it sounded like you were being sarcastic once you said you were driving in 2 hours, but it sounded like you didn't really mind it. I guess I'm not sure.
I think at this point I might be numb to the traffic.
Numb to the traffic.
I definitely was being sarcastic, but you know, sometimes I start second guessing myself because I feel like it's part of the lifestyle out here. You just sit through traffic for a third of your time.
Yeah, you're numb to it. Now that you describe it like that makes sense. What do you do in your car when you're in traffic?
The first thing that comes to mind is Disney music. I'm a big fan of listening and singing along to Disney music.
How did that? Well, I mean, we'll get into it.
Well, we can unpack if you want. But.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we start from the beginning, from birth and the drive home from the hospital, if it's okay if you weren't born in the hospital, and we'll get to the Disney music, which you said proudly. I did pick up on that.
I am proud. Yeah, I get made fun of here and there, but you know what?
Yeah, I held back. You see me holding back.
I can see it in your body.
In my body language. I'm like,
yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it. The hospital, the ride home. I mean, like, what do you remember from very early childhood?
Let's see. I know I was born in Miami, Florida. Florida's like the lower quality version of California. I was born at Jackson Memorial on my dad's birthday, actually. Me and my dad had the same birthday.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, we'll get into what's that been like over the years, but what is the, I guess, primary like thing that's to be considered when you have the same birthday as your dad? Is it just like not one person dominates the day kind of thing?
I think the most important thing to me is that I'll never forget my dad's birthday.
Yeah, well, I feel like you might forget it because you're like, it's my birthday. Like,
right.
But yeah, I guess you'll never forget it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was always nice growing up and sharing a birthday with my dad. It was never like, oh, it's my turn to shine, or,
yeah,
you know, it's pretty chill.
Yeah. My sister was born on my parents' anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of similar to that.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather was born 2 days after me and my dad's birthday. Obviously, before either of us were born. But our birthdays are January 9th, me and my dad. My grandfather's birthday is January 11th. So we almost got 3 generations in a row.
Yeah.
I feel like a portal would have opened up in the middle of the earth if that happened.
Let's just talk about this all day, and we'll get into astrology.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that and talk about birthdays the whole time. Okay, so you were born and you should have the same birthday as your dad,
right?
And he liked you, as a baby.
Supposedly, yeah. That's my subconscious memories are positive with my dad. And I pretty much grew up in Florida, South Florida, up until I went to college, which was at Florida State. But so my parents are divorced. They've been divorced since I was 2. So they got it in there nice and early. But I remember I tried living with my mom a couple of years in my youth, and it just didn't work out. So I kept going back to my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad's like the rock in my life. Not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but The Rock as a metaphor for stability.
Would you trade your dad for The Rock?
Honestly, I feel like he would trade himself for The Rock.
Yeah.
For me.
And what a guy.
I know. Exactly.
What a guy. So what do you remember maybe about, being 3, 4, 5 years old, really, around that age, about growing up in Florida? Who were you with then, and what memories do you recall?
So my initial memories are obviously the divorce. Believe it or not, I went to divorce therapy, or what I recall as divorce therapy, as like a 2.5-year-old, which was just coloring in a coloring book. Like one side was my original family, mom and dad.
Yeah.
Other side of the page was like your new family.
Do you remember that, or is that something you were told that happened?
I have like a fuzzy vision of this coloring book. But I think it just felt weird as a kid. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't helpful. It was just this weird sort of memory that you didn't need. It's a memory you didn't need. Perhaps.
Probably, yeah. Or maybe I did. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's shaped me somehow.
Yeah.
But let's see. My dad.
You love coloring books now.
I love coloring books.
You hate them. I hate coloring books. You're triggered by coloring books.
It's a love-hate relationship. A metaphor for divorce.
Right.
My dad remarried when I was 3, and he's been with the same partner since. So they're like over 25 years. And, she basically raised me as her own. So I consider her my mom as well.
Gotcha.
And some of the most like specifically visual memories I have from around my early childhood, being 3, 4, 5, are associated with my dad. So like we had this little electric ATV type of thing. Like you think like of a Tonka truck, but it was like an ATV for kids.
Oh, so it was like a toy. Yeah, like the not Hot Wheels, but a Hot Wheels. Was it Hot Wheel? Like kind of
not like a little one. It was like a life-size one. Like I could sit in it and drive it.
Yeah. So
I have a lot of memories of sitting in that, and my dad would ride his bike next to me. And that's just like something that my subconscious sometimes goes back to and feels positive about.
Yeah, where were you driving? Where was he biking? Where were you driving?
The image I have in my mind, in my subconscious, is by the beach. So we'd just be like going along the beach, me and my little ATV and him on his bike.
And how old were you at this time?
Maybe 4-ish, 5.
Yeah.
Young.
I have a similar kind of memory, I feel like, of riding my bike, like when I kind of first got the training wheels taken off, like around like around the neighborhood basically, and circling back to like where I lived, and like remembering that, like how awesome it was, and like there was trees and like the parkway next to me, and then we moved to another place.
Oh no.
But I still remember that.
That's great, man. Memories.
Yeah, and I find it to be a pleasant memory.
That's good. Instead of an unpleasant memory.
Yeah.
I have some of those, but
yeah. Let's talk all about those.
All right, let's just focus on the bad stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so you're 4 or 5 years old, and you're riding, you're cruising and down the Miami,
right,
picking up women and scoring cocaine as a 4 or 5 year old. This is what I'm picturing, like a kid.
It's the Miami way. Yeah. Wearing sunglasses.
That's right. I'm guessing you went to school too.
I did. That's a great guess.
Yeah,
very educated guess.
Yeah. How'd that go?
It was great. Actually, my dad coming into the picture, he made the smart choice of putting me in this like preschool sort of daycare. And I imagine it was like a logistical choice, because he had to work, my mom had to work.
Sure.
So where was I going to go? But it helped me a lot because I learned how to read and write and how to socialize a lot before I even got to like actual grade school at this place. And the lady who ran it was this amazing, sweet Cuban lady named Maria Elena.
And this is when you were also four like,
yeah, this is like 4-ish.
And you remember all these I guess if the memories stick, and if you talk about it, you remember. It's like I feel like I don't remember that many details from that age about preschool or whatever.
Yeah, I think it might be also like conceptual memories,
Yeah.
Like the memory of an idea or like a timeline.
But you're pretty detailed. It's like a Yelp review or something about some shit that went, place you went when you were 4 years old.
All right. If it's a Yelp review, I give my second year of life 1 star.
Yeah. That's kind of a funny Yelp reviews of memories.
All right. That'd be cool.
Yeah. You can use that bit. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to make you sign this waiver.
Yeah, I'm helping. Yeah, I got a pen right here.
Right. So yeah, that was like around when I was 4. And then kindergarten was in Miami. And then after that, the majority of my schooling was in Broward County, which is like 30 minutes north of Miami. So a little bit of a safer, cleaner place.
When did you move there?
Like 1996.
Well, which grade were you? What grade?
First grade.
First grade.
Yeah.
And you remember that move?
Not really.
I don't remember the move.
I just remember being there.
Yeah, you don't remember the move, but you remember like your preschool.
Right.
Yeah, maybe the move wasn't as pleasant. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think things got fuzzy. I mean, I remember my childhood home very clearly.
Yeah.
Because we were there from first grade until I was in pretty much 8th grade.
Yeah.
So that was like a big chunk of my childhood.
Sure. So what was it like when you got to the new place, or what do you remember from, I guess, the early days of being in Broward? Is that Broward County?
Yeah. It was great. I feel like, looking back now that I know more things as an adult, my dad and my mom definitely made the right choice for their kids, because we went from like a sort of less polished area.
Sure. No, I got you. I understand.
Right. Like A schools everywhere, super safe city, sort of like a bubble. I call it, this place is called Weston. It's a city in South Florida, but I consider it a bubble because it's like unlike anything else. It's such a calm, quiet, safe place.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy ever happens. All the schools are A schools. It's just like a neat little suburban town.
What about all the kids that, I mean, we'll get into like later in high school or whatever, but what about like all the kids in school? Were they were all, everyone was nice kids, not a bunch of bullies and assholes and mischievous kids? And
there were definitely some troublemakers.
Sure.
But honestly, like
nothing
when I
out
was
of the
growing
normal.
up, yeah, no, I would see stuff in movies, and TV shows where like, oh, like the bad kids.
Yeah.
They're going to push me into a locker.
Yeah.
I didn't even have lockers ever in school. But no one ever bullied me.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because I was always the shortest kid in class.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, easy target.
Yeah, I should have gone to school in Broward County.
Were you bullied?
Despite the humidity. I mean, 95% of the people who sat in that chair were bullied. I wouldn't say, maybe a little bit.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I almost like wanted to get bullied in a way.
Yeah. So you could have some. So you have a.
So I'd be maybe like rougher around the edges. I don't know. But I'm grateful that I was just in a good place and nothing crazy happened.
Are you mentally tough?
I would like to think so, yeah. Because although I was not bullied by classmates, I feel like I was definitely bullied by life. In a lot of ways.
That's I understandable. Yeah.
And circumstances.
Yeah. So you don't need the bully. That's the pro bully people will say, oh, it's good because it teaches you about the real world and how to defend yourself and blah blah blah. The pro bullying people, but there's other ways to become mentally tough and physically tough,
right,
without being bullied at school.
I agree. Resiliency comes in many forms.
I'm gonna go up the street and beat up some bullies at the local school.
Wow,
Is this bad? Is it a bad idea?
That's like bully on bully.
Yeah, bully crime.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you had a perfect childhood, except for a few things. No, well, at least the school was good, and you had nice friends.
School was great. I feel like the gaping parts of my childhood were definitely like family dysfunctionality.
Yeah,
divorced parents and like coming to terms with being an Americanized Hispanic and just grappling with step parents, step siblings, identity, things like that.
Yeah. So what about when you went through elementary school? What kind of things did you do for fun?
I was a huge video game enthusiast. See, my parents made the mistake of when I was 4 years old, instead of getting me like a drum set or a keyboard, they got me a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But
you're probably asking for it.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think I would enjoy that more than like a drum set at that age.
Yeah, sure.
But like that, Nintendo became a part of me, like a symbiotic relationship, like it was my identity. So a lot of my time as a child was spent playing video games. When I wasn't playing video games, I was reading. I loved reading.
What kind of stuff did you read?
Harry Potter was a huge part of my childhood. Oh my god, I'm the first person ever to say that, probably.
I guess not.
But I just read a lot of fiction. A lot of like mystery and suspense and fantasy stuff. And then I actually enjoyed reading textbooks, like the ones they would give us in school. I would just read through them.
What, like math too?
Yeah.
Like all of them?
There was a point in my life, I became way lazier in middle school. But there was a point in my elementary school academic career where I would do my homework like 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time if I could.
Because you were excited to do it.
Because I just wanted to do it, get it out of the way.
I see.
That's what I can play.
Yeah, that's how more how I like to operate. It's not so much that I'm interested in learning math.
Right.
I want to get the math done so I can do other shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I got you. Look at you. You're a planning little kid with foresight.
Yeah, but that all went out the window in middle school.
What happened then?
I think I just realized I could get away with being lazy, or like I discovered the gem of procrastination. Yeah. Because coming into the world, going to school, my concept was, all right, get good grades, nobody will be mad. So I was like, oh, okay, this is what I have to do. I slept up a little bit, 4th, 5th grade. I got like B's and C's. I was a straight A student forever. I got my first couple B's and C's. I was petrified. And then I realized that, my dad was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then that was just my one-way ticket to Lazy Town, USA, where I became the president and all the citizens.
That's kind of a little bit my academic journey as well, where it's like in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, all straight A's. Then, 4th grade, 5th grade, started to get a little harder. Middle school, high school, got continuously harder. I tried less and less. I wouldn't say I was a procrastinator or even lazy, but I definitely tried less and cared less. I actually think I cared too much. I regret caring as much as I did.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
That's crazy. I wish I would have cared more, but
cared more about different things.
Right, exactly.
Different subjects, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we got to be grateful that we're here now with what we have.
Right.
I mean,
if you could go back and do high school or college differently, like I would approach some things differently for sure. But
right.
One of the things I would do is try less in high school, even less.
Yeah. See, for me, I don't know if I could have tried less.
What happened to your grades from like middle school? Because you said in like 4th, 5th grade, you're starting to get some B's and C's, which is not tragic. Did you get D's, F's?
Not until high school. So middle school.
Yeah, we have the same journey, my friend.
Right. Like the turning point that I usually turn to is in 6th grade, I was in gifted math. And it was fine, but I was definitely coming into my full laziness fruition. I remember at the end of the year, I told my teacher, Mrs. Miller, I was like, hey, Mrs. Miller, your class is great. You're a great teacher. But I think I'm just way too lazy for this. I'd rather play outside or play video games.
You said those words?
I said it to her. So I guess like I still had foresight, but to set myself up for laziness instead of like success. So I told her, I was like, this is a great class. You're a great teacher, but I literally don't want to do it because it's too much work. And she was like, you know what? You're right. I've seen it this year. Yeah, you're smart, but you're incredibly lazy. So I ended up doing the same math all 3 years of middle school. Is that Florida State public education at work or no? I don't know. Maybe. Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's funny. I mean, you keep saying that you're lazy, so if your parents must have known that you were lazy and not been happy about that, even if they didn't expect you to be a perfect student, they would, I would guess, be upset that you were a lazy student.
Yeah, this is where the thing comes where, like, I mean, I got by. I wasn't, like, ever teetering the line of dropping out or anything like that. So I was always getting by. I was just getting by on a lower threshold of success.
Yeah, I have the same exact track. I gotta pass the final to pass physics.
Right.
Here we go.
And my parents, I mean, obviously they'd be like, you can do better. And I'd be like, all right. And then life went on.
Yeah. Our parents acted like they cared about school more than they probably really did.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a concept that you grasp onto. It's like, oh, I should care for the well-being of my child as a student.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you have to do that as a parent, you know?
To some degree, it's about the piece of paper, and then you have to get the grades to get the piece of paper.
Right.
So what about high school, middle school? What was your social life? What did you do for fun? Was it even video games and into high school? Did you ever think about doing something in like career-wise with video games ever?
I did, and I don't know if we can touch on that now or keep going on like the chronology, but
either one.
So like middle school was a lot of video games too, but I started getting more social. I discovered like sarcasm and humor.
Yeah, I was gonna ask when did the comedy.
Yeah, that middle school was definitely when I realized I was like, oh, humor is a way to connect with people. You know, because I was really shy as a kid. I was super quiet and just like stayed in my own lane. But once I realized that you can use humor as a bridge, you know, like it doesn't matter what language you speak, you do something goofy or silly, and you can make 5 different people from 5 different parts of the world laugh, then you're all on the same page. And once I figured that out, it was just, I started loving just like socializing and interacting with people and connecting on a very like fundamental human level through humor.
Did you feel like you were like consciously like, trying to make jokes for people, or like, look at Mike coming down the hallway at me, I'm gonna tell you? Were you already kind of writing in your head for people in some way?
I don't think intentionally. I definitely was aware that like I liked having fun making jokes, but I wasn't per se like willfully writing on the fly. I was very like reactive to things. I would just make quick comments on whatever was happening.
Do you ever do that in your present day life, where you're going to meet people or like go to an event, or you're going to see someone and you think of what you're going to say to them like right before you walk through? Not that you're trying to think of something, but you just kind of decide, and it's often a joke or something like that. Do you?
It's strange because I feel like in my head at any given moment I'm running through like 30 different iterations of what's happening. You know, so like I'll like make up my own conversations in my head. So like let's say if I was coming to see you, I would make up like 8 different potential interactions that we could have.
So you're a real writer.
Yeah, but it's not like a choice. It's just my brain is like constantly over analyzing and over processing everything, which is why I like to live and just like going with the flow, and like whatever comes out naturally is.
No, that's great.
What I'll follow.
Yeah, I just go with the first goddamn thing I think of.
That's usually what happens too.
Not always, but sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. So you spread your wings.
Yeah, I started spreading my wings
through joke.
Through joke, and I almost became popular in middle school.
Yeah.
Almost.
I feel like the times that I almost became popular, it was like a joke, but I did not care.
That's funny.
We should vote for Adam to be president of school because it would be funny.
All right.
I probably didn't win or whatever, but
yeah, it's crazy. I had like a brief stint with popularity, and then I quickly shot it down the drain. But you know, I was into like nerdy, quote unquote nerdy things in middle school, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblades.
Yeah, I don't even know what you just said, man.
Yeah. I guess that speaks for itself. I'm sure someone out there will know what I mean when I say let it rip. I used to say that.
I always thought of myself like not as a nerd. I guess I was never smart enough to be a nerd. I don't really know nerdy things like the things that you might be into. But I think people are just nerdy about their own whatever they're into. I'm like a baseball nerd. You're into
right.
People
also, like, you know, terms in general are being destigmatized, you know, because the term nerd can be seen as negative, but hey, we're into what we're into.
Yeah. There's a difference between dorks and nerds.
So I've heard.
Yeah. Okay, so what about the comedy? Were you watching like stand-up comedy? Were you watching a lot of TV? I mean, you read, but you get bad grades. That's interesting. But
right.
Were you watching TV and movies and stuff like that and comedy stuff?
I was sort of like co-raised by TV and movies. You know, I was what they call a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
For a while, my dad just worked all day, pretty much every day, to keep us afloat and to set us up with a good life. And then my mom also worked all day. So, like, you know, I would go to school and I would come home to an empty house. where I would just watch TV to keep myself entertained, or I would play video games. But I consumed so much TV and so many movies beginning at the age of like 4.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that really shaped my perspective on the world and my sense of humor.
Was there, what kind of stuff were you, I you mentioned you read Harry Potter, but what were you watching? I mean, genre-wise, was this everything and anything?
It was mostly cartoons for a while. Like the classic 90s catalog of Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network.
Sure.
Like all the classics. We don't have to name them, otherwise we'll get into that whole like, oh, did you watch Dexter's Lab and Cat Dog and stuff like that? But
that's probably a little after my time. I was like Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, shit like that.
Oh yeah, that also yeah. Rugrats and
might
Stimpy.
have caught some of that.
Our Real Monster is Cat Dog.
Yeah.
Is Johnny Bravo.
I remember Our Real Monsters. We were going through the list anyway.
I know, yeah. It's kind of exciting to go through nostalgia.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, we're done now.
We're done. We wrapped it up.
Yeah.
But truly an iconic cartoon for me that really shaped my sense of sarcasm or satire in a sense, or just without really knowing it, because I was just absorbing at that age, but you realize later on that like subconsciously things are happening in your brain.
Right.
The Simpsons. I watched The Simpsons religiously in middle school for an hour every day.
Yeah, as did myself and everyone else on my school bus.
Yeah, it was the thing, and it was great.
Yeah, people are constantly citing the first 10, 11 years of this. Not that the show, I mean, I guess there's debate how good the show is now and over the years and stuff, but there seems to be no debate about the first 10, 12, 15 seasons.
Right.
For sure. Do you have favorite character or episode or moments or memories of The Simpsons? I feel like for me, it just seems to come out in conversations. I cite The Simpsons in conversations.
What's weird is I don't remember specific lines or moments. I sort of just, I guess, and this is like how I operate in a lot of senses or like a lot of parts of my life, where I just sort of like absorb conceptual things and they're just a part of me.
Yeah. Like
it's hard for me to like remember specific lines from things, but I can remember like concepts and ideas.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm a little that way too, but I wasn't going to say concepts and ideas, but when I go to see stand-up comedy, I don't remember every punchline. I don't remember every joke. I don't even remember who sometimes said what joke.
Right.
Sometimes I drink at these shows. Okay, I drink at all the shows. But I remember how all the comedians made me feel.
Exactly.
I remember if they made me laugh.
Yeah, that's what
I
it is.
remember if I liked them.
Precisely. I remember feelings more than like specific things.
But you remember concepts too.
I guess so, yeah. But like feelings are concepts.
Yeah, you have feelings. Feelings are concepts? Whoa.
Damn, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah, we gotta take a break. That was too much. That was too heavy.
Mind blown.
Oh boy.
So you were into cartoons. What about stand-up comedy? Did you get into that in high school or were you watching anyone?
Not a lot, surprisingly. Stand-up honestly has never been like a big focus of mine or something that I've watched a lot. I've seen stand-up,
Of course.
But like, I can only name a few people who I've actually seen their sets, like Dave Chappelle, George Carlin, and maybe like 3 or 4 others. But I've never really absorbed stand-up.
So stand-up is not really your primary focus. Writing is more your primary focus.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How often do you do? We're jumping around, but how often do you do stand-up and like?
Never really. So you're familiar with Scoopty Boopty?
Yeah, of course.
That's the only time I pretty much get up and talking to a microphone is when I'm hosting that show.
I didn't know that. I thought you were stand-up, and because you're a fucking funny guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, I'm part of me is almost like disappointed.
And me for not doing stand-up?
Yeah, because I want to see, like,
No, I tried it a couple times in college, and it just feels strange to me. It feels foreign. I've done a lot of improv and sketch comedy, and I live like through scripted comedy, but stand-up is just, I don't know.
I think you're a storyteller. I think that's your style.
I think so too, yeah.
If you're going to keep going, which you will, because I asked you to.
Right. The concept of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so stand up is just not. I love the community that specifically we have through Scoopty Boopties, but stand up as an art form has never really interested me,
Yeah.
oddly enough.
No, I got you. That makes, you got to do you. You got to be true to yourself.
Right.
For sure. So you're in high school, you're socializing, you're a funny dude, you're watching tons of movies, playing video games, TV shows.
Right.
When did you start to get the thought that you might want to pursue something in entertainment, writing, making movies, whatever,
Oh man, it was years later.
Years later, really?
Years later. So,
because you went to Florida State.
correct. Yeah.
So you must, was it then where you started to get involved more hardcore in entertainment and production and whatnot?
Florida State is the first time I ever actually got into performing or even acknowledged that comedy was a thing that people can do, because I would always see it on TV or in a movie or whatever, but it always seemed like this foreign concept. I was like, oh yeah, that's funny, but it just happened somewhere. And when I went to Florida State and I saw, stand-up and sketch comedy, I was introduced to the opportunity. I was like, oh, I can try. I can perform. And that brings me to like 30 and 60, which is where all the Scoopty Boopties people met. It was FSU's sketch comedy troupe.
I've heard of it. Of course, by now, yeah.
Right, yeah. We've already interviewed
Max.
Two former members, Josh and Max.
That's right.
And Max is actually the one of two people who told me to go audition. And funnily enough, I didn't make it in my first time auditioning. And like I have this whole backstory of me and my immense fear of performing. I used to have like crippling stage anxiety for the longest time.
Did you have any experience performing growing up, like through high school or anything like that? Theater?
No, I did zero theater,
anything like that?
Zero performing.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Well, that's probably why you were afraid. Zero experience.
Right.
It doesn't help.
And I was scarred by an experience in 5th grade.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to jump back to 5th grade.
I do want to jump back in 5th grade, and I have one more question before you get back to Florida State. What were you planning to major in, or did you have any thoughts about that? But why don't we go back? Let's get to that, and then let's go back to the 5th grade traumatizing story, and then what you were thinking about majoring, and then we'll get back into.
All right, so 5th grade story first.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this I'm pretty sure, as I've talked in therapy about, and as I've
I don't know. I'm sorry I left.
That's okay. It's kind of a goofy story.
It was the energy you brought that you were introducing the topic with.
Right. I've like deconstructed this specific moment a lot, and I think it really did like shape my fear of talking in front of people and just performing. So 5th grade, we have an About Me project. We had to take a brown paper bag, like the ones you would use for lunch, and put items inside it that describe you. So music, movies, books, video games, blah, blah, blah. I, at the time, really liked the NSYNC No Strings Attached album.
Yeah.
It was popping.
Yeah.
A lot of jams.
No, I recall there was a couple of ones
hits
that I did not turn off when they came on the radio. I'll admit that.
So I put that in my bag, and I get to school, and for some reason, like this external societal pressure of being cool and, like what's going to make me look lame or whatever just completely took over.
I still think too much about that.
Yeah. It's something I've like worked on for most of my life.
Yeah, let's talk more about that later. How can we do that?
Right. Like people's perception of you,
right.
Your perception of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started freaking out that like if I pulled out and this is so sad, like to think about anyone going through at any age, but like the fact that I was going to pull out this CD and I thought that kids would make fun of me because I was a boy, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And a boy isn't supposed to like a boy band.
Right.
Like all these like backwards gender roles.
Right.
I just started panicking. I was like, I don't want anyone to think I'm lame because I like this band, because I like these freaking bangers that they're cranking out.
Yeah, you made the right choice.
I made the right choice. So I start like panicking in class, and my teacher, she says, "Oscar, it's your turn." And I'm like breathing heavy, and I say, I can't do it. And she says, "You have to do it. You have to get in front of the class and present your project." And I start like breathing heavier and getting scared. And I say, "I can't." And then I start crying. And at that point, what I wanted the least is happening. Everyone's looking at me.
Right.
All eyes on me. Everyone in my eyes is judging me because I'm crying, you know?
And you were
fifth grade.
Fifth grade, yeah.
Yeah. And then she says, if you don't go up, you're going to get a 0. So I'm crying. I already have all this attention on me that I didn't want. I get to the front of the classroom, and I still have to pull out the NSYNC No Strings Attached CD. And you know what? Nothing ever happened. No one ever made fun of me. But I think that like experience of feeling that panic and that fear of judgment lingered. It stayed in me.
I'm sure it did.
For years.
I think that story's going to stay with me. Damn.
Yeah.
You think they didn't make fun of you because you cried? They're like, did they take pity on you?
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe it was just like the short attention span of fifth graders.
Yeah, no one was paying attention.
Yeah.
I was going to that was my next guess. No one gave a shit.
Yeah, no one really cared as much as I thought they would.
Right, they never do.
They never do, yeah. That's like something that it takes you forever to realize.
Yeah. I'm working on it, man.
I know.
All right, so at Florida State, you went into school where you weren't planning on studying or getting into entertainment because you discovered what was the group again?
30 and 60.
30 and 60.
It's a silly name, but
yeah, so
it's a sketch comedy troupe, essentially.
Yeah, I think all sketch comedy groups have silly names. I think
true.
that's part of
It's not a real sketch comedy troupe unless it has a dumb name.
Yeah, right.
So I sort of stumbled into that because I was just like a lost leaf floating through the woods, you know? I was like, I have no idea what I'm
you were
doing.
an undeclared liberal arts major or something or other,
I was an English major.
Okay.
But I had
Close enough.
Right. It's basically the same thing. But I had switched from like computer engineering to international relations to international business. And finally I settled on English because I was like, okay, I speak English. I can read and write. So this is my life now, baby. And just through community, through meeting people, I found out about this comedy troupe, and someone said, "Hey, you're kind of funny. You should try auditioning." And this is after I had gone through like 4 years of taking multiple speech classes and public speaking classes.
Oh, so this was your senior year at Florida State? When you
Ish. I have a pretty loose track record of school. It took me a while to graduate.
Yeah.
Like 5.5 years to be exact.
Later on. So it was more the second half.
Okay, so it was like college part 2.
Yeah, college part 2.
But to get over that fear of performing, I pushed myself to be in front of people. So I literally took 3 public speaking classes, a couple of speech classes, an improv class, and an acting class. Just to do it.
You only got that type of anxiety in front of people in like a stage performing, not like walking around campus talking to people.
No. I can socialize like it was nobody's business.
It's on stage.
Easy. As soon as there was any performative aspect, I would shut down. Like a class project, I would get hot, red, fuzzy.
Right.
I would forget things for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, you explained the reason.
I guess you're right. Yeah, that's the reason.
What? So you were getting comfortable. It sounds like performing and you're meeting people and coming out of your shell again.
Coming out of my shell again. Part 2. Many shells, and I was still uncomfortable. I was still very uncomfortable in my own skin.
Slightly less so.
Slightly less every time.
Ever so slightly. Yeah.
Ever so slightly, and it was amazing. Being part of the sketch comedy troupe, seeing people who were not at all uncomfortable, people who were very comfortable performing and just being themselves, and seeing that to me helped me. 'Cause I was like, oh, just let go.
It can be done.
It can be done. Just, love yourself and then you can have fun.
Yeah.
It's not this crazy, insane thing that you're making it out to be in your head.
Yeah.
We like to live in our heads, Yeah,
love yourself and have fun. I'm going to take that way out of context, just so you know.
All right, but don't quote me if you get into any trouble.
Did you mention to your dad and your family that you were that you started to get more and more into performing with the sketch group and were liking it and getting better at it? And how did they react to this?
I did. And I think a critical milestone in my life, which has helped me get to where I am today and will help me in the future, is having my family support, because they immediately were on board. You know, my dad was like, "Oh, that's great. You know, yeah, you've always been pretty goofy. Whatever you decide to do, I'll support."
That's awesome.
It was great.
They know you.
They know me, yeah. And they would ask questions. I was like, "Oh, like, what are you doing?"
And they were interested.
They were interested. Like, how does it work? Where do you perform? How many people? Listen to that, because it was all new to them. You know, like my Central South American family. You know, I'm like a first generation human going through the American school system for the first time in this family structure. So a lot of new things are happening through me for them.
Sure.
So they were fascinated.
Did they ever come see you perform while you were in college?
Sadly not.
How far is from
Tallahassee to South Florida is a 7-hour drive.
Yeah, that's not around the corner.
And we're a family of 6.
Yeah.
With completely random schedules. So it was, they did drop me off when I moved to Tallahassee. Everyone dropped me off.
Yeah.
Which was like, you know, saying farewell.
You're on your own, son.
Right. Don't do bad comedy.
Yeah.
But they never, to this day, they haven't seen me perform any comedy, actually.
Who doesn't want to drive 7 hours to see college students perform sketch comedy?
I know, right?
I don't know where.
That's
messed up.
That's where the gold is.
Yeah.
The true raw moments of life.
I think so. So you it sounds like you eventually did graduate. You were liking comedy. You eventually ended up in Los Angeles. But I'm guessing things happened between those points.
No, I think I just appeared here.
You just appeared here? Whoa. Well, then you got to explain how that happened.
No, there were definitely a few pivotal moments that led to me coming out here. So I was still, even after graduating, I was still very much undecided on me, you know, who I was, what I was doing.
Sure.
Luckily, I got a job right after graduating in my field, which was writing. I got a copywriting job at this corporate office in South Florida. And
so you were back in Miami area?
I was actually, I moved back with my family because the job was 10 minutes away from where I grew up. So it's kind of nice because I had been away from home for 6 years. So I was like, all right, I'll like go back home for a bit, work this job, spend time with my family again. My siblings were getting older. It'll be nice. And I thought it would be cool to get paid to write because, you know, that's what you think.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hated the job I had. I hated it. It was a 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, inside of like 4 white walls with bright fluorescent lighting.
Yeah. Writing
stuff I didn't care about. And it was, I feel like I was dying at an accelerated pace. You know? Doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge identity crisis for me. And they started, so here's where things sort of got very serendipitous. Her life was like, hey, I got this. They started letting me work from home. I still had a lease in Tallahassee that I hadn't finished because I moved for the job after already signing a lease.
Well,
I don't know where
I think I'm already connecting the dots here, but keep going.
Right. So I moved back to Tallahassee to finish up my lease and work this job remote. And that's where I meet Joey. I think you've met Joey.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I never met Joey, but he was also part of 30 and 60, but before my time.
What's his last name again?
Newfield.
That's right.
Joey Newfield. He's also a people I love. A person I love. But him and Max had talked about moving to LA for a while. It was like a plan that they had. So what happened on a random summer day is Joey talked to me and a few other people from 30 and 60 about moving to a beautiful little place in Florida on the Panhandle called Destin. Not too far from Seaside where the Truman Show was shot. But he was basically saying, oh, let's move to Destin, all of us together. We'll work at restaurants. We'll make some money. We'll save up. And then if we're down, whoever is about it can move to Los Angeles. I moved to Destin just because I wanted to change, you know? And it seemed like the right impulsive choice at the time.
Sure.
And it was amazing. You know, just spending 6 months with some of my closest friends. We were doing sketch comedy out there at like restaurants. And
how long were you there for in Destin?
Like 7 months.
Okay.
But that's where I got really close with Joey. I got closer with some of the other friends who had moved there. And Joey and I became like best friends there. And he's the one who pretty much was like, hey, you need to move to Los Angeles with us. You just have to. And he's the one who sort of showed me that there was like a career path in comedy and writing.
Yeah.
And you like fast forward down the line, we become writing partners, and you know, things start happening for us. It's been a very slow burn, but you know, it's like one moment led to another moment.
Of course, that's how it works. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Fucking follow that inner compass, my friend. That's what people tell me. That's what I tell people.
It's crazy how it happens.
What was it like when you, I guess, first came to LA and landed here? Had you been to Los Angeles before?
I'd never been to Los Angeles.
What did you think? There's palm trees. Well, you got palm trees in Miami.
Yeah, there's smaller palm trees. I feel like, honestly, I blacked out my first 4 to 6 months in LA from stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I drove here from Florida. I drove here, which was like an amazing trip in itself. But I got here during like a record rain peaks. It was just raining for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, good work.
Here. Yeah, truly. And like I had no idea what anything was, where anything was. I had no job. We didn't have a place to live. We were crammed in an Airbnb for the first couple months out here. So there was just like a lot of stress.
Right.
But we were together. And that community has been my rock.
What do you remember about like talking to your dad and your family, you know, back east when you first got to LA in the first few months? Everything's great, Dad. Everything's going awesome. I'm back at work and I got a job.
Yeah, right. I wish. I was stressful, I was stressed even talking to my parents about moving here. You know, because like I wasn't the most financially stable.
Sure.
I was like, I definitely would have needed help or like some support in some form. So I was scared to talk to them about it because like, what if they didn't want
to
help me or support the idea? From the very beginning, they were like, yep, if this is what you want to do, then we have to support you and we will support you. You know, that's why we're here.
It's awesome, man.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that literally makes everything so much easier behind the scenes. You know, still a lot of stress and anxiety, but
of course,
like, when you have support in any form, it keeps you up or holds you up when you feel like you're gonna crash.
Yeah.
So they stuck with me through those first months when I was getting on my feet. You know, I definitely had their support in several ways: financial when I needed it, emotional all the time. And I was just telling my dad yesterday, I was like, I don't know where I would be without you in my life. I just have no idea.
I should probably say that to my dad. God damn it.
That's okay. We have time.
Yeah. I'll write it to him.
Right. I mean, I texted it to him. So
yeah. I see.
It's not like I wrote like a letter on like calligraphy, like fucking papyrus.
Yeah.
And sent it to him. Like,
if I send that to my parents, they'll think it's sarcastic. My dad might. My mom will probably cry.
That's sweet. Yeah. Well, I've learned to appreciate them more as I get older.
No, of course.
And like,
I know.
Express that gratitude.
Yeah. No, appreciate everything more and more as you get older, and express gratitude more and more as you get older. I think that's what this whole podcast is kind of about.
It's true.
In some regard.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So things did seem to, I'm guessing did get better and better and you got more comfortable in the city and.
Yeah. And it's still been a roller coaster. You know, I've been here for 2.5 years-ish. But I love it. A lot of ups and downs. I've had my highest highs and my lowest lows out here in Los Angeles. But that's sort of what I want, you know? I want to feel the full spectrum of existence. And,
I'm done with lows.
Yeah.
Only highs for me.
Only highs?
Yeah.
That's great, dude.
I had enough.
How'd you do it?
No, I'm not saying I had to, but I just saying I had enough lows, so I'm going to only focus
I gotcha.
on the highs.
I gotcha. I support it.
Moving forward.
Right.
No, you got to have the lows to appreciate the highs. Because life is just twisted.
Right.
I think.
Absolutely.
Like that.
You know, the power of perspective.
Right.
But yeah, I've gotten used to the city. You know, like I tapped into the comedy community, got involved with performing and building community.
Are you doing some sketch stuff?
I was hardcore, like maybe a little bit too much when I first got out here. So like I completely went through the UCB program, sketch and improv. Yeah, it was great. I was performing at a lot of like open mic sketch shows for a while, just to exercise the craft.
Sure.
Been on many indie improv teams that have lived and died, as is the way in Los Angeles.
What do you like more, sketch or improv?
It's different.
Yeah, you don't have a preference.
There's like an ephemeral beauty about improv where you can just show up and ride the energy.
Yeah.
You know, which is just amazing. But from the writer's perspective and like from like the technical point of view, really appreciate sketch.
Sure.
Because it's every move is tactile. It's a strategy.
Right.
Every single moment. So I've had fun with both.
Apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges. Yeah. But both fruits.
Yes.
And both sweet.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. There's more.
Right.
More puns or whatever. Cool. So I just want to ask, what would be your like long-term goals, dreams, plans, career-wise?
Long-term, the goal is to be in animation writing. So let's say if I'm looking at a 15-year plan, it would be to eventually work on a Pixar movie in some sort of storytelling, creative capacity. The next 5 years I've had in my mind as getting into a writer's room.
Yeah.
And we're almost there. Joey and I, we're
in animation, in
animation,
television, yeah.
We would do live action happily.
Yeah.
But that's phase one. You know, I guess phase 1.5, because phase 1 was getting a bunch of samples ready, getting representation, meeting all the execs, planting our seeds. We've done that.
Nice.
Now the next phase is actually getting that job, turning that job into other jobs, building our reputation as reliable writers.
Right.
And then after that, we have a little bit more leverage. I want to work on this type of show. I want to work on that tone. I want to do these things. You know
I was going to add, what kind of animation stuff are you pursuing, and what kind of stuff do you want to pursue in the long term? More kids stuff, drama stuff, comedy, all of the above?
Right now, it's been mostly family friendly.
Yeah.
So, like, you think of like a Phineas and Ferb type of vibe, or something you'd find on like Disney Channel, like what's the name? Gravity Falls.
Yeah. Stuff
like that. Accessible for co-viewing, or like, you know, the whole family can watch it, because it has a lot of comedy built into that. My sensibilities definitely lie a little bit closer to adult animation. But I feel like that's down the road. You know, a few years from now, once we have some credits, I think we can tap into that a little bit more. And eventually, the big goal, like the ultimate dream, is to write on a Pixar movie. But that's like at least a decade away.
Yeah.
If that, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, but it sounds like just the fact that you know how long that might take seems like you're in it for the long haul and you're doing all the right things. Like, I think that was one of the more intricately laid out plans that I've heard from somebody on that couch. Well, I mean, people have been specific, but
right,
you broke that down.
Yeah, that's just, I feel like that's how I have to see it, you know, to keep myself in check and to not get too obsessive over how things are going, how things are not going, because progress is a process, you know?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you know, I've been having a blast doing sound mixing and getting more into sound design, and it's like a different way to craft storytelling just through your ears.
Cool. Expanding your horizons.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me what else you're working on, or promote whatever you want, or the floor is yours. Anything else you wanted to discuss that we didn't cover? Any other embarrassing, traumatic stories, or
that's funny,
or happy memories, or anything, you know?
Well, let's see.
Before I kick you out of here,
before you tell me to GTFO.
I've taken up plenty of your time.
I'm enjoying it. This is
sweet.
It's nice to talk, you know.
I appreciate it.
Well, let's see. Joey Newfield's my writing partner. If anyone out there is staffing for animation, we're more than happy to to meet. That's been the main focus. We've sort of pivoted into sound mixing and sound design, which has been great.
That's more like a separate business or something, almost something like that.
Pretty
venture
much.
Than writing.
Yeah. Right. But there's something beautiful about that partnership, that creative collaboration.
Sure.
That him and I have.
Keep grinding, my friend.
We're here.
Keep grinding, my friend.
And obviously, Scoopty Boopties and Van Nuys, third Saturday of every month. You've been there.
Yeah,
you enjoy it. You have a streak going.
I do. I'll be there again, I'm sure.
Yeah, our 2-year anniversary show's coming up.
Exciting.
It might be already passed by the time this airs.
Oh, that's right. It will be. It will be.
But we will have a 3-year anniversary show a year from now.
3-year anniversary show. What about the other 11 shows before that one?
We'll see. We'll have this too.
So how do people follow you? Follow Scoopties? Follow anything else?
Definitely follow at Scoopty Boopties, no apostrophe. Instagram. I've been doing 2019 no Instagram, a sort of a social experiment.
Yeah, I looked for you. I've looked for you.
Yeah, I was on it for a while, and then on the day after my birthday this year, my birthday's January 9th, like I was saying, me and my dad had the same birthday, I deactivated it. I said, I'm going to try to go the whole year.
Why is that?
I think it was stressing me out, honestly. Yeah. It was like this pressure to A, keep up with everything.
Yeah.
And B, it was sort of like polluting my day-to-day. I'd be like, oh, that would be funny to post. Oh, that would be funny to post. Oh, I could make that funny. And I was like, man, I'm not just existing.
Yeah, it's funny? I'm sort of at the total opposite point. But I feel that way more. I felt that way actually more about Facebook. Whereas it was giving me more, it still kind of does give me more stress and anxieties. In some ways, it's Facebook because I feel like you're getting on a soapbox in some ways and yelling out to everyone. Instagram seems a little bit more. It seems more fun and casual. It's people just sharing pictures, not preaching necessarily as much. So I've been actually enjoying the Instagram and following people's stories and lives, and
that's good. I am excited to get back, and I've been working on music that I want to like comedy music.
Yeah,
that I'm going to put on there when I get back.
The thing about Instagrams, I've been following, obviously more and more comedians. So versus compared to following, not that I dislike people who are not comedians or friends from other walks of life,
right?
But following more and more comedians, and a lot of comedians, they're funny. So I legitimately enjoy, and I look forward to people fucking ridiculous videos and funny things that they're sharing, and knowing when everyone is doing shows, really.
Yeah, it's a good way to connect with people and keep up with the happenings, and I am excited to get back, so I'll be following you when I'm back.
Organizing keeps contacts organized. That's what social media is really the best at, is just to keep
logistics.
More than anything, not necessarily, all the other bullshit that comes along with it. But we can have this conversation. We can continue that, analyze social media some other time.
Right.
But again, I appreciate your time, and
thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. 2019, 2020, and beyond.
Yeah, well, we're gonna make it happen.
We will. So there you have it. My conversation with Oscar Lemus. Man, that was so much fun. And to be completely honest, I'm still pretty rattled by that NSYNC no strings attached story. I try to act like I don't care that much about what people think, but I still care. Too much. About stupid, superficial things. And the opinions of people who don't matter to me. That's not you guys, though. You guys matter. And I'm working on all this shit, man. Every day. Anyway, for more about this show, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Hope you enjoyed episode number 50. Thanks as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.